If they let in hundreds or thousands of people who already have criminal records, if deporting them creates a mass deportation, I'm all for it.
But what if rounded up in all of that are people who work on a farm? They're doing the jobs that Americans don't want to do. Does that worry you?
That wouldn't be fair. Of course, they need to make sure that they don't throw away, they don't kick out, they don't deport people that are family oriented.
But maybe upon Washington, D.C., would you be that sweet red hot lava for us?
Number 3, we're going to deport. We're going to deport a lot of people, 10 million people and growing, anchor babies, their parents, their grandparents. We're going to put kids in cages. It's going to be glorious. We're going to detain a lot of people in the D.C. Gulag and Gitmo. And list number 5, I'm going to recommend a lot of pardons. Every January 6th defendant is going to get a pardon, especially my hero, Horn Man. He is definitely at the top of the pardon list.
And just like that, they are even more emboldened. No matter how many times Fox News tried to walk Trump back on his comments pledging that he'd come after political rivals, he never wavered. Which, to those of us paying attention, meant that he had every intention of doing so. And according to these vulgar words by Trump lawyer Mike Davis, yeah, it's fully on the cards day one.
Mike, I've never called for lava to rain down from the heavens. But maybe upon Washington, D.C., would you be that sweet red hot lava for us?
I've never been called sweet, and you call me Sweet Ginger. So I think I meant then. During my 3-week reign of terror as Trump acting attorney general, before I get chased out of town with my Trump pardon, I will rain hell on Washington, D.C. We've talked about this, Ben. I have 5 lists ready to go, and they're growing. List number 1. We're going to fire. We're going to fire a lot of people in the executive branch and the deep state. Number 2, we're going to indict. We're going to indict Joe Biden and Hunter Biden and James Biden and every other scumball, sleazeball Biden, except for the 5-year-old granddaughter who they refused to acknowledge for 5 years until the political pressure got to Joe Biden. Number 3, we're going to deport. We're going to deport a lot of people, 10 million people and growing, anchor babies, their parents, their grandparents. We're going to put kids in cages. It's going to be glorious. We're going to detain a lot of people in the D.C. Gulag and Gitmo. And list number 5, I'm going to recommend a lot of pardons. Every January 6th defendant is going to get a pardon, especially my hero, Horn Man. He is definitely at the top of the pardon list.
As we somehow try to digest the food poisoning that was Tuesday night, there's already been movement from Trump HQ to implement their plan. First, Trump selected his chief of staff, before resorting to his usual run-of-the-mill endeavors, attacking Gavin Newsom for vowing to protect Californians.
Gavin Newsom's team says that the session will, quote, protect California values, including fundamental civil rights, reproductive freedom, climate action, immigrant families, and more. Awaiting more specifics on what that means exactly. It's pretty clear what it means to me. Governor Newsom is not going to take crap from Donald Trump.
But one thing that is apparent post-Tuesday is how emboldened Trump allies and aides have become in their rhetoric.
The feel when you're totally not pressed. The feel when we control your bodies. Hey, bitch, we control your bodies. Guess what? Guys win again, okay? Men win again. And yes, we control your bodies. Hi, I'm your Republican congressman. Hi, I'm your Republican congressman. It's your body, my choice. And men, women again. Men win again. There will never, ever be a female president. Never. There will never be a female president, ever. It's over.
But I want to highlight this interview, right, with a Republican lawyer reportedly being considered for Donald Trump's next Attorney General, and what he had to say about one of Trump's first targets, New York Attorney General and MAGA world villain Letitia James. James, the lawyer who prosecuted both Trump and the Trump Organization for fraud, on Wednesday outlined next steps for Democratic attorney generals in the wake of Trump's victory. And this statement led to right-wing activist and Trump Attorney General hopeful Mike Davis to make sexist and misogynist threats towards Letitia James.
Let me just say this to Big Tish James, the New York Attorney General. I dare you. I dare you to try to continue your lawfare against President Trump in his second term, because listen here, sweetheart, we're not messing around this time. and we will put your fat ass in prison for conspiracy against rights. And I promise you that. So think long and hard before you want to violate President Trump's constitutional rights or any other American's constitutional rights. It's not going to happen again.
We've been warning people on the show, Mike. This isn't the same Trump administration. Stop messing around. Don't rig elections. Don't illegally vote. Don't try the funny business, because we know the team this time and they are not effing around.
And this comes just hours after Davis was tweeting about dragging, quote, dead political bodies through the streets. And Davis has also threatened special counsel Jack Smith, who is leading the indictment on Trump's holding of classified documents, telling him to, quote, lawyer up.
Do you think he's going to follow through on the sort of the vengeance talk?
I think we have every reason to believe he will, Anderson. I mean, he has said it, as your introductory piece made very clear. He's made his intent, as we say in the criminal investigative business, very clear, and the conditions within which he'll be operating are very different than those he faced in 2016. He's not going to have people around him who are committed to kind of keeping him within the guardrails and telling him what's unlawful or inappropriate. He'll be surrounded by mostly political sycophants who are there to facilitate whatever it is he wants to do. He's not running for re-election ever, so he's not constrained by that. And of course, the Supreme Court has bestowed him with essentially complete immunity. So everything he tells the department will do comes within the penumbra of that immunity, and he essentially can't be held accountable for any of those statements or actions.
We want him in a very high capacity. Mike Davis. Mike. Thank you, Mike.
And as I said, right, those of us who paid close attention to Trump's comments, free from the sane washing that you had seen elsewhere, this was inevitable because, frankly, it was laid bare by Trump himself.
I know many of them. It's just this amorphous group of people. But they're smart and they're vicious. And we have to defeat them. And when I say the enemy from within, the other side goes crazy, becomes a sound. Oh, how can he say? No, they've done very bad things to this country. They are indeed the enemy from within. But this is who we're fighting.
What are you expecting? Joe Biden said he doesn't think it's going to be a peaceful election day.
Well, he doesn't have any idea what's happening in all fairness. He spends most of his day sleeping. I think the bigger problem is the enemy from within, not even the people that have come in and destroying our country. By the way, totally destroying our country. The towns, the villages, they're being inundated. But I don't think they're the problem in terms of election day. I think the bigger problem are the people from within. We have some very bad people. We have some sick people, radical left lunatics. And I think they're and it should be very easily handled by, if necessary, by National Guard, or if really necessary, by the military, because they can't let that happen.
You think the man who, in the wake of the debate, couldn't talk for 5 minutes without mentioning his crowd size and how people never leave after just one measly comment from Kamala Harris would get in office and just let things go? I mean, do we know who we are talking about here? They are currently and have been telling us what his plans are from the get-go. And with this election victory, they'll take that as all the reinforcement they need that the American people want it too.
If you change that kind of position description to one that can be filled by somebody who is appointed at the will of the president rather than someone who has come up through the meritocracy, you completely shift the nature of the leadership of these organizations. They'll be filled by people who are there to follow the will of the president and the administration rather than to make decisions based on the facts and the law, which is what the department does today. So I think that shift will be seismic if, in fact, he follows through on that plan.
Which brings it back to us and makes our job, yes, very difficult, but all the more important to call these things out when we see them.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Midas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.